Welcome to Line Redesign. Today I want a quick flip, and so I got this piece that is a basset in good condition. I think I'm just going to let this be one of the kinds of pieces that satisfies me because I get it done. I just wanted one that's going to be easy. That doesn't always work. It worked this time, which was really nice. I'm going to go over how to make money flipping furniture on Facebook as I show you me refinishing this piece. So if you're interested, get out a pen and paper. Click like if you like. I'd like that. You don't have to be interested in selling to enjoy this furniture flip. I'm cleaning as always to begin with. There I'm sanding the floor glides down. But I am going to talk a bit about how to make a profit selling furniture on Facebook Marketplace. The summary of how to do it, the way I think of it, is sage it and beige it. You buy a piece, paint it a popular color. Sage and beige are very popular. Add more modern hardware and then sell it. The pieces that you want to buy, you will want to be in pretty good condition because the amount of time that you spend really matters. You'll see me on this often spending a great deal of time repairing things and using creative techniques to have different kinds of finishes. I enjoy doing that, but it's not the most profitable way to operate. You're going to want to be a bit of a little assembly line. Buy a piece, paint it beige, add new hardware, sell it. Buy a piece, paint it beige, add new hardware, sell it. I'm removing the hardware here and I'm going to be cleaning it in anticipation of painting it to put back on the piece, but it turns out I've got some hardware that looks pretty good and is the right distance in between the holes. So the 5 major things when selling furniture that I want to talk about are, first of all, how to source your pieces and your products. Second, what pieces and styles sell. Third, how to determine pricing. Fourth, tracking your time and profit. And then fifth, how to post the piece. The first part, sourcing pieces and products, where I save the most money is in paint and hardware. I get my paint from the mismix section of the paint store, and if you do that, you'll want to make sure that the paint you get is water-based and it has low VOCs. Interior water-based paints have low VOCs, and you don't want to use exterior paints with high VOCs because they're not safe and the off-gassing will cause problems. You can mix those paints together to make whatever color you would like, and you can add calcium carbonate, which is chalk, to make them chalk paints, and that provides better adherence. The hardware that I get where I'm saving money on hardware is at my local creative reuse center. You can look that up. They're available across the United States. It's like a thrift store, but for crafts, and it also happens to sell hardware often. Habitat for Humanity is a great go-to for me to get hardware at a discount as well as furniture at a discount. I typically don't buy off of Facebook Marketplace. I typically buy from Habitat for Humanity. I find it to be the easiest. And when they get a big donation in, they will have a huge sale. So that's very helpful. On this piece, the process that I'm doing is very standard. I cleaned it with Dawn dish soap. I did 220 grit. I'm going in with 123 primer. Before I do paint, I'll do 2 coats of primer, 2 coats of paint before I do touch-up work, and then add the top coat and hardware. So the second thing that I wanted to talk about regarding how to make a profit on Facebook Marketplace is determining what pieces and styles sell the best. Dressers, side tables are very profitable often. You'll find a lot of the refinished pieces are dressers or side tables. One way is to study your specific market because you're not necessarily in Austin, Texas. Look up the word refinished when you are searching Facebook Marketplace or the word painted, and you will see what others are selling. Check out their history to see who's doing well with high reviews and pieces that you may want to emulate. That'll give you a great idea of what you can expect to sell well regarding both the pieces and the style of those pieces. The third thing, in determining pricing, don't start by looking up pieces that are similar to what you want to sell and trying to find some middle ground there. Start by finding pieces that are similar to what you want to sell and then save the listing and wait. Once it's sold, go back to see what the selling price was. And the reason you want to do that rather than just look it up and see what other people are pricing products at is because some people really overvalue their pieces. They love that piece, and so they list it for a lot more money than they're ever going to get. Over time, they'll drop the price and get a little more realistic, and so it's the sold price that you'll want to see after you save the listing. It's been overnight, and since I found these door pulls that match the holes just right, rather than cleaning and painting the other hardware, I have it cleaned, but I'm just going to set it aside for another day if I need it and use these as is. I want a dark paint that's not black, so I will search around in my paint to see what I've got. The paint choice that I'm going to go with will be something like sage, as you saw before. Another thing about determining pricing is some people will list pieces for an incredibly low cost because they want them out of the way. That's why you don't want to take those into consideration, and you don't want to take the overvalued pieces into consideration when you determine your pricing. Fourth thing I wanted to talk about was tracking your time and profit breakdowns. It'll help you get an idea of what sells better than pretty much anything else will. I track my time because I'm recording everything, and that makes it easy. But you can also have just a piece of paper where you track the piece you're working on and how much time you spent on it. Add those up, and then when you sell a piece, divide the profit by the hours worked so you can determine what your hourly pay is. I'll show you what mine looks like. This is, if I sell it for this price, then I will have made this amount per hour, and that's after I subtract my total cost. How you determine your total cost is up to you. The way that I do it is I don't count things I reuse. Here is my breakdown. I didn't count brushes that I'll use again, and I saved there about 30 bucks on hardware and paint most likely. If I use something in one project and I have leftover, I won't count the cost of that in my next project, but I will count the cost entirely in my current project. For example, if I get paint for $20, I use it on a piece and still have half left over, I call the paint cost for that piece $20. And when I reuse it, I don't count that price. The reason is to help prevent me from buying new things all the time so that I take into consideration how much I need to be purchasing new products. It's not as often as I actually purchase them, and I know that. The more time you spend gathering data about your time and profit breakdowns, as well as the sourcing costs that you deal with, the better you'll understand what's going to work for you regarding what's going to make you the most profit that you still want to be doing. For me, it's YouTube. So if you would click like, then I will stand a better chance of achieving my goals, which is to be able to continue teaching and doing things creatively on YouTube. The next part of what I wanted to talk about is how you take pictures and post your products. I use a app that will delete the background, and I can add realistic backgrounds. It's about $5 a week, and so I'm not even going to mention it by name. They don't pay me to. But you can do that, or you can focus on staging pieces, get decor, look at your contemporaries or the people you wish were your contemporaries who are also selling to see what kind of setups they have. The people that have been doing this for a long time, there's a lot to learn from them, and you don't have to go to YouTube to find them. On Facebook Marketplace in your area, you will find a lot of people that are doing this and doing it well. So look at their pictures and learn from those. Posting, it does matter how you describe a piece. People like to hear nice words about a piece rather than just the basics. That's been hard for me because I figure you can see it. You know whether or not you like it. I don't need to suggest that it's gorgeous. But apparently, one does. So this sage basset dresser with the dovetail drawers is perfect in almost any decor. It blends well with its subtle color, its modern hardware, and its gentle lines. Functions as a sofa table, entryway table, or would be perfect as a dresser in your guest room. See, I mean, you could just look at it also, but you could say that. So those are some basics on those 5 different topics that I wanted to go over. A couple of other things worth mentioning. In sourcing products, estate sales can be a fantastic place, especially the last day of an estate sale. You can look up the bulk trash pickup in your area. That can be a place where you might find a lot of wonderful pieces that only need to be cleaned up and painted. People will list things for free. That can be a huge hassle in my area. I barely ever bother with it. But reduced costs, when people are going to move, they will often drop the price on pieces that they just want out of their way now. Those are the pieces that you want to be looking for on Facebook Marketplace specifically. For me as well, the state surplus store and the university surplus store can be great sources for pieces that are inexpensive. In determining what styles sell, this piece is fairly traditional. If I had taken a jigsaw and taken off the detail there at the bottom, it may have made it more likely to sell, but I really just wanted this piece to be one that I could do quickly and well and feel satisfied at the end of it. So I accepted that I wasn't going to do that. There are some bases that you'll see people add on YouTube. The time it takes to do that is unlikely to be worth the profit, though they do look good. I would say the chances that that's going to be worth your time for the money is pretty unlikely. However, you do you. Track your time and profits, and if you want to do that, do it. There's something to be said for drawers broken on dressers. They sell for much less money than when all the drawers work because most people don't want to repair them, and oftentimes how quick it is to repair will make getting broken dressers worth your time. Again, track your time and your profit breakdown to make that determination for yourself. Another issue that has to be considered is the space that you have, and that will help you determine your pricing. If you don't have a lot of storage space, then you're going to need to move pieces faster, so you may need to sell them for less than you could get if you were able to wait. I'd previously been in a one-bedroom apartment without a garage, and now I'm in a three-bedroom house with a two-car garage and a large yard. How big of a difference that makes in my life is impossible to overstate, but it's not sustainable with just furniture. Part of why I'm here on YouTube and why on my homepage of my channel you can find the buy me a coffee option, fan funding, and monetization is how I'm going to be able to keep this being sustainable and why I have to ask people for likes. It has yet to be something that I'm comfortable doing, but I know that it does matter, and I would like you to click on like or leave a comment. Additionally, if you are in a small space, you don't necessarily have to sell a piece quickly, despite often needing to get it out of your way in order to work on the next piece. A consignment shop is one option. A vendor booth rental is another option, but with furniture, that can be an option that is pretty expensive because you're paying for the space. Some flippers will rent a storage unit in order to hold their pieces there so that they have the space needed to work on projects, and they'll meet customers at the storage unit when they decide to purchase. Saging it and beiging it is an option that you can go to in order not to have to find different streams of revenue the way that I'm doing. Painting something sage or beige and adding new hardware before selling it eventually to me led to some burnout. I really want to be able to do things creatively. I love to teach. I learn best by teaching. And so that's why I'm here on YouTube. But if you are willing to paint pieces in the popular color and upgrade them to be the current style and do so in a fashion that is very repetitive, then you can do this and make a living. It is very possible. Don't let me dissuade you from thinking it's not just because I asked for likes on YouTube. You can do this exactly as you see me doing it and make money. The reason that I picked this piece in particular to talk to you about how to make money flipping furniture is because the only tool you'll see me use that's a power tool was a drill. And that's it. The remainder of the products that I use are very inexpensive and not too hard to come by. You don't have to throw everything you have into pursuing furniture flipping if you want to find out if it's right for you. Start inexpensively, start small, and decide after you've done it for a little bit if this is something you want to put everything into. Challenge yourself to do this on a budget because that's a great deal of what you're going to need to do. I'm using a flashlight here on screen to check to see if there are any places where I've missed paint, and along the edges there are a number of places. I'm going to go in with the same paint I've been using with a little bit of water in it so that it will make sure it covers those areas. The reason we don't add water to paint typically is because it reduces how
durable the paint is. The first two coats are very durable, and so what I'm doing here is at this point fairly cosmetic, and I'll be going back with polyurethane. Because of those things, I'm not particularly worried about adding a little bit of water to make sure that I get complete coverage. Family and friends can be a great early resource to help you determine whether or not this is something you want to do. When I began, I didn't have any tools, but I had a friend that was willing to loan me tools for longer than made any sense. Thanks, Matt. There were also a number of things that I didn't know how to do safely with power tools, and I had a friend that is a fantastic woodworker that was willing to teach me how not to cut off my fingers. Thank you, Joe. I didn't have a vehicle that I could comfortably fit two side tables in. Thank you, Dad. It's a convertible, so I can take the top down and then put them in and put the top back up often, or just ride with it down. I still don't have a vehicle of my own that can hold a dresser or any piece larger than what can fit in the back of a convertible, but I do have someone that will loan me their company vehicle. Thank you, Kyle. I can't move heavy, awkward pieces out of that company van on my own, but there was a child in whose life I was important that is now a man who lives nearby and is willing to come help me with that. Thank you, Charlie. I can't always push myself past today's failure and find tomorrow's enthusiasm without someone to remind me that I am genetically predisposed to be able to Kool-Aid man my way through a problem into inspiration. Thanks, Mom. I can't always figure out on my own how to solve the problem that's in front of me without someone to help me brainstorm. Thank you, Nancy. The list of people that deserve thanks and the contributions of the people that I've already listed who deserve greater thanks is hard to say. It's enormous. So, my point is if you want to do this and you want to do it alone, then I've got nothing for you. But if you have a community and a support system that you are willing to ask for help, you got a chance. The single greatest barrier to entry in furniture flipping for profit is going to be you. You don't need to start with a lot of money and a beautiful piece. You need to start with a willingness to learn. That's it. You don't have to dedicate your entire waking life to this in the way that some people like me do in order to determine whether or not it's something that you would like to try, if only as a side hustle, if only as a hobby. But you do need to start. How you make that start can be incredibly inexpensive. If you have a small table, get some Miss paint at Home Depot for $2. Grind up some chalk to go in that and get a 220 grit piece of sandpaper with a foam paintbrush. Pop that table on a trash bag and get going. You'll have a distressed, shabby chic piece in no time, and you'll have a better idea of whether or not it's something that you want to pursue full time. If you've got $15, $20 and a way to get to your Home Depot and a thrift store, then you don't have any more excuses. And you're welcome. Get started, find out if you love it. Or you could just decide that you want to keep watching other people do it. It's fun to watch. I enjoy doing that, even if I'm not learning from watching them do it. In this, I have a water-based polyurethane on screen that I'm mixing a little bit of that sage paint with. That'll help avoid the top coat from looking cloudy or murky. I'm going to do a polyurethane coat in a water-based from Behr on the entire piece, and then later I'm going to go back with General Finishes. General Finish is a fantastically high quality top coat, and I'll only be using it on the top. It's very expensive, multiple times what regular water based polyurethane costs, which water based polyurethane is wonderful because it has low VOCs, it doesn't yellow, it is pretty protective, it's durable. Oil-based polyurethane, you need more ventilation. It lasts longer, but when I say longer, I mean 30 years instead of 20. And it can be preferable depending on the circumstance. If you want to use oil-based polyurethane, because that's what you happen to have, you're going to wait for the water-based paint to dry for at least 24 hours before you go in with the oil-based polyurethane. And keep in mind, it will yellow on darker pieces. It's less relevant on lighter pieces. It's certainly quite relevant. In my case, as I said, I mixed in a little bit of that sage to prevent any clouding of the surface. I've used water-based polyurethane repeatedly on darker pieces without having any issue of clouding, but I've also done it and had the issue of clouding. It's worth putting a little bit of that paint into the top coat to prevent the issue from happening. I'm coming to the end of this piece of furniture, and I hope that if you want to furniture flip for profit, that I've helped you get a bit of a grasp on what you're going to need. And I hope that I've encouraged you to walk away feeling like what you need is primarily what you already have, which is the drive to do it. I don't spend a lot of time personally thinking about the disadvantages of flipping furniture for profit, but there are a number of them. One is the space that it requires. That's an issue. Additionally, if you continue to do it, there will be more materials that you need, and you'll need to store those materials. There's a lot of learning that goes with it. You're going to make mistakes left, right, and center. That can be frustrating in a lot of ways. There's also cost. It's going to cost you time, it's going to cost you creative energy. It's going to cost you pride with how many times you're going to get it wrong and repeatedly make mistakes about things that you've already learned how not to make those mistakes on, because you'll have the drive to keep moving forward. I hope for your sake that the portion of pride that you have to give up in order to flip furniture isn't going to be pride that you were using to any great benefit anyway. I know that I wasn't. And I continue to be plagued by that pride, the effort that it takes me to push past it and ask for someone to click on like or comment is pretty amazing. And I spent a lot of effort on this content, so I'll ask you to click like. And I've already gotten a first offer. I listed the piece at 300. I've been offered 250. General Finishes, high performance, flat, water-based top coat, as I've said, is very expensive. It's over $2 an ounce, but it's also one of the greatest top coats ever. It's won awards for greatest and most durable water-based top coat. I understand why. It's very, very well worth it. I'm going to put beige drawer liners in here. This is one of the things where I don't think I really save a lot of money. I will use wallpaper or paper that is nearly antique or at least vintage that I will then glue down with glue and water combined. And I do that instead of just getting contact paper that is a giant sticker. I I don't know that I'm really saving much money on this, but I feel a moral victory with it, and so I'm going to take it. Also, I don't always think that people want necessarily the drawer liner that I'm putting in, and so sometimes I will have that drawer liner not be as permanent as it is with this wood glue and water combination, but rather I will leave it with just double-sided tape on the bottom and the top, or this time I tried using a stapler for the piece on the bottom, and it looks very good. I think people can keep it that way if they want to, or they can fairly easily remove it. And using a stapler in the way that I do on the bottom drawer, maybe going forward the way that I apply the drawer liner, because I think that it was not just effective and quick, it it was something that is easily removed while still being something that can be durable for the customer. I think it's kind of the best of both worlds. This contact paper, or this wallpaper rather, has a pattern to it which helps hide any errors in the way that I place it. I did a remarkable job this time. I'm not quite sure how I succeeded as well as I did here in ways that I don't always, but I think part of it is my life partner is basically a sticker expert, and I knew that he was coming over, so I was afraid he was going to see that I wasn't applying this wallpaper properly to the drawer, and that made me focus more on it. This is where I'm using the staple gun to apply the contact paper or the wallpaper in a way that while it adheres very well, it's also easy enough to take out that I think it's really the greatest for the customer and for myself. Oh, there's a before. What a difference. It's amazing how different it can be. I've already been offered 250. I, it's hard not to like sage or beige. And it's hard to keep asking you to click like as well. But I love this piece. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope to see you next time.